Hey, what's going on YouTube? Alright, not being in a relationship or avoiding relationships and, sabotaging your relationship to kind of avoid the whole idea of commitment is the same thing as being in a relationship and not knowing what to do. Why? Because at the end of the day, both sides are going to be outside of the whole idea of the relationship. Right? Eventually they're going to be out in the cold, one sooner than the other. And what I'm trying to get at is this whole idea of black people only focusing on commitment issues with black men because the father's not being around. I'm not trying to say that it's not true. Don't get me wrong. Of course it is. You learn how to do things from watching somebody else do it, right? We're creatures of imitation. So we're going to imitate bad habits and good habits. But our Father is supposed to give us all the good things to imitate. So I do agree that it affects us, right? And because we have men, who don't necessarily know what to do, they're going to shy away from it. But we have to go further. Okay? How does that affect the woman, right? Women learn just as much from their fathers when compared to the sons, in my opinion. Just like, with the mother, right? We kind of have this idea that, the woman teaches the women more and the man teaches the man more. I think it's equal. We kind of learn from both parties. So there still is this void of knowledge that exists both in men and women. The problem is we kind of get confused. I say confused because we assume that black women are better off because they're inside of a relationship, right? And women, of course, are more prone to being in a relationship, but we kind of act as if black women got it because they can say, oh, I have a husband or I have a boyfriend, whereas the black man says I have neither. But the issue is black women not necessarily knowing what to do inside of a relationship because they don't have what their fathers taught them, right? Hopefully you guys see where I'm getting at. So even though she's in a solid relationship, it's not healthy, and eventually it's gonna fall apart, as we've seen in just real life. So in the end, aren't both sides outside of a relationship? All right. So the key is we don't know how to sustain a relationship. That's the bigger issue. Black men and black women do not know how to sustain one. Why? Because we are missing some of the information that our fathers are supposed to give us. Right? This is the approach that I want us to have when we're talking about black issues. I don't want to hear any more single-sided stuff. Right? What happens to me happens to you. It's not like, I'm a snake and you're a dog, where what makes me sick as a snake is completely different from, makes you sick as a dog. Right? Part of being the same species, on a scientific level, is your ability to suffer from the same diseases. So we're definitely suffering. But how we suffer is different. If you get trapped out in the cold, I might get the flu, you might catch pneumonia. We're both sick. Don't focus on my cold, and don't focus on your flu. Focus on the fact that we're sick and we both need medical attention. We tend to, as men, I'll admit this, we tend to focus on issues where we feel the women are struggling more, and the women tend to focus on issues that they feel the men are struggling more on. But in the end, like I said, we're just talking about differences in terms of manifestation. We're not talking about what happened in terms of exposure, or the lack of exposure. So there is no leverage, right? None of my videos, and you guys can, call me out, please. In any of my videos or my topics, I may talk about what's going on in the women, right? But I'm fully aware of how it affects men. So I'm more than open to the whole idea of people challenging me, right? If I do a video or if I have done a video where I talk about an issue and I don't talk about how it affects black men, get at me, right? I'll explain myself. A lot of the times I don't, because, you know, to me, it's already out in the air what black men, like, it's already clear what we're not doing. I mean, it's not a big secret. So I don't really waste time talking about stuff that we already know. Right? But I have that, you know, it's still at the back of my mind. And I'll share it. Because I'm convinced, right, there isn't one singular issue that affects us and doesn't affect the woman, right, equally. Now, we may have some secondhand smoke issues. What I mean by that is, you know, one side may be affected on a secondhand level, and you have the primary level, but most of the time, it's direct relationships. Right, you know, it's like we're both smoking cigarettes, we're both killing our lungs, right? And we have certain issues that are more secondhand in terms of, you know, I may be smoking, and because I'm smoking, you're getting hurt. But most of the time, it's because we're both suffering equally. So like I said, I mean, you know, if you're solutions oriented and you really feel like you are, then you're not going to talk about issues and not talk about how it affects both sides. So it really doesn't matter if you say you're pro-productive, pro-black, and all the other stuff. If you can't analyze both sides, I don't want to hear you. Or I don't want to hear you proclaim that you're solutions-oriented. So anyways, you guys get at me, tell me how you feel. Like I said, if you feel like I've ever talked about something and I've quote-unquote gave black men a pass, come holler at me, because I'll tell you. I'll be more than willing to tell you, how that situation affects black men just as much as it affects black women. So y'all take it easy. Take care. God bless.